Hello, YouTube. My name is Nicholas. I'm a data analyst actively working in the field. As of when I'm recording this, I wanted to make my contributions to the data analytics world and provide analysts with an understanding of how to actually do their jobs well so that way they can advance their careers. Either if you're just starting out, you need your first job, or if you're looking to upskill and get promoted or job flip and work somewhere to get paid more. Regardless, this will serve you as it served me in either interviews or working your job to hopefully get noticed. Or even if you're applying for your first job, I think it would be very useful. So let's jump into what I have here. So, what I want to talk about is most analysts only focus on technical skills. And what we want to do is we want to start thinking analytically, which will set you apart from your competition because this career is getting oversaturated pretty quickly with recent college grads and others who are just trying to get their feet wet in the water. More experienced people are going to have these skills. And if you don't, I'd be very surprised. I think it comes with experience, but also I think it's good if you actively try to think about how to think analytically earlier in your career. It will help progress you quicker. So I've condensed this into three clear steps because I think it's more attainable that way. And so we're going to talk about step one, which is thinking beyond the project. Step two, which is think with a business mindset. And then step three is developed a structured curiosity framework, which I'll give you the one I use. And so let's go ahead and dive into this. So, thinking beyond the project is really important. Most analysts work in ticket systems where you're going to have your project manager giving the actual analysts, such as myself, such as you, tickets inside of a system. And so that ticket system is probably going to be some kind of a scrum board usually, and you're going to have a certain amount of time to complete those tickets. And so, what you really want to do is you want to take a moment at the front end and think beyond the project because it will set you up for success and it will help you use your time more valuably when you're actually working on these tickets. And so, first and foremost, you want to think about what happens after the analysis. This is really important because you don't want to just get bogged down in the mindset of completing your tickets to move on to the next project. You want to actually think about how it's going to be impactful, which is going to be a theme throughout all three of these steps. And so you start by asking, what is the immediate response afterwards? And if we break that down even further, you can think of things like, how will findings be used? Another thing you could think of is who will be impacted by this ticket. Usually that's just going to be your stakeholders, but you're also going to have your end users as well, especially if it is client facing, or if you're going to look at it more broadly within your company. If there's a lot of different people, like say you're working on something for the salespeople within your company and your sales reps need to see metrics that are actually going to tie to them closing more deals, they might not have been a requester. They might not even be in your ticket because there could be hundreds of them, but you're going to want to think about those people on the front end. And so the reason that you're going to do that is because it's going to inform how you approach the actual ticket itself. And it is going to change the way that you look at the project because you're going to be viewing it from the eyes of the actual end users, the actual stakeholders. It's very important. And so, step two is think with a business mindset. This is probably the most important out of the three. And so, if you take away anything, this is going to be the most important thing. So a way to kind of bundle this is, how does it help the company win? And so that's going to be lifting KPI metrics. That's going to be generating actual ROI and revenue because that's ultimately why you get a paycheck. And so you want to be thinking about everything you get from a business mindset. It will set you apart from other analysts who are just thinking technically because you can get very sucked into that technical thinking. You want to think outside of the realm of technicality and into the actual frame of mind of those who are requesting, which is almost always going to be a business person. And even if it's not, even if it's another technical person requesting this, you're still going to want to think about the ROI behind it because ultimately you're getting paid to do your job. And so that's going to come up, that's going to come from upstream, ultimately from the CEO and the board of the company who's decided to hire you because there's a problem that you need to solve. This is how you want to start thinking because it's going to inform how you resolve tickets in such a way that you're actually generating ROI, and this will get you noticed more than anything else. At least it has for me. And so to dive into this in a little more detail, you want to tie your insights with the business outcome. So you want to think, what am I doing and how is it going to directly affect the business? Now, sometimes this can have a really tangible return on investment, such as that earlier example I used with sales reps getting to close more deals based on what you're doing. That's an obvious ROI. Maybe something less obvious is you're going to be freeing up client time on your website by designing something that will be more seamless. Maybe you're working on your company's embed analytics and you need to change something about it to get your admins to see something more clearly. That could be an example. Um, and by doing so, those admins then are going to be more effective at, doing whatever they need to do in order to get the people that they're working with in order to use your product more, just as an example. So always tie what you're doing to a tangible business outcome. And to break that down even further, you can kind of wrap this up in a catchphrase or a cliche is how will this make the company more money? Because ultimately, what you're doing should have some kind of an impact, whether direct or indirect, that will generate money for your company. And if it doesn't, you probably don't need to be doing it. Those kind of tickets are things that should be killed if they're not making the company more money. And so, what you really want to do is move away from thinking only technically and move into thinking from a business standpoint. And to tie this in with the first point that I was making, you really want to think of it from the lens of the requester. It's very important because that will help you understand how it's going to make the company more money. Um, Last but not least, if you approach every ticket and you think of it like an executive at your company, that will dramatically increase your business acumen and give you more confidence as well. I think it will give you a lot of confidence, but it will give you more authority over your ticket. It will give you more understanding as to why you're doing your work, and it will change your frame of mind and will give you that paradigm shift that you need in order to step on over the ticket itself instead of getting bogged down within it. And so you're going to have much more control if you just think from the lens of an executive while you're working. That has significantly helped me. So, last but not least, this is going to be a structured curiosity framework. And the way that I use this is I look at a ticket and I go down a checklist of things that I think about when I'm looking at a new ticket. And it will help me get my mind wrapped around it in a way that is sort of like a standard operating procedure that I've self developed. And this has been extremely useful for me in giving me what I need to quickly and efficiently work a ticket without getting stuck in what's called analysis paralysis, which is a common term that I've heard thrown around in my experience and also my days in college. You want to stay away from that because it will act as a time sink and it will take you away from doing the important things. And so let's go ahead and jump into that. But I guess one final point would be you want to stay away from getting too deeply invested in comprehending something because you will waste your time and it won't look good to your project manager. It won't look good to your sponsor if they have eyes on what you're doing and you'll fall behind in your work. But you also don't want to just jump on the ticket and not think about it at all. So you have to have a middle ground, and that's what this is really trying to achieve. And so, first thing you want to ask is actually what is the core question? And so start by looking at the entire summary that you have in your ticket. You've met about it with the stakeholder and you've gotten all the information you need. You want to summarize all of that and say, what's the core question I'm trying to answer? If there's multiple core questions, that really should be broken up into separate sub-tickets within the project. But uh, there should be one core question at least. Usually there is. If there's multiple, treat it like two separate tickets. But find your core question. That's going to be your root. From there, you want to step to the next step, step two of the structured curiosity framework that I'm giving you here. It's what assumptions exist, because often the requester will have assumptions about things. Maybe it's how the sponsor assumes that this thing that you're building, whether it's a dashboard or some kind of a solution, is going to look. They're going to come with their biases on what the outcome should look like. And you want to understand that so that way you can challenge them when necessary, but also because typically you're going to be requested something from a subject matter expert who knows what they're talking about. And so that will help you, as someone who has to work cross industry, understand from a rapid fire standpoint what it is that you're looking at. And then if there is assumptions that need to be challenged, it's your job to challenge them. So that way you're not, reporting faultily or building something that's ultimately going to be a waste of time because halfway down the ticket you realize that what you're doing shouldn't be done this way. And so, either way, thinking about the assumptions will help you bucket them under, do I need to challenge it, or is this going to help me learn more about the project? And then, of course, what data should exist within this ticket. You're going to be usually working within core tables, right, that you are familiar with. And then you're also going to be working often, I'd say not always, but often, in more obscure tables that don't get used as frequently. That's the nature of a database, really, is you have your core network of tables that are used all of the time, and then you have quite a few tables that are rarely used, but you need to know about them because that's sort of your subject of expertise. And so, one way to help you quickly find where the data that you need to work with is stored is you just want to think about where within your database it should exist. An example could be if you have user information that you want to pull into, say, um, historical logs of user activity. Now, your base user table is probably going to be something that is frequently used. You're going to be familiar with it, but you have to go find the necessary log to pull in to join on. That is going to help you understand sort of the network. And so if you have an entity relationship diagram, that's great. Um, if you don't have access to that immediately, thinking about sort of pathways as to where it might be located will help you come up with table names that you can then research, moving into a ticket where there is, of course, data that you're not familiar with. And then to wrap this into a bow, you want to kind of make this a standard operating procedure, and you want to be exploring your tickets systematically using a standard operating procedure like the one that I use here. And that will give you a starting point so you can get organized early on and thus not waste any time. And so to summarize, these 3 points have helped me immensely in my career. I hope they can help you in yours too, especially if you're just getting started or even if you're mid-level and you don't yet have these tools in your toolbox. Now's a great time to add them. They've significantly helped me gain confidence, comprehension, and advance and get noticed by the people I want to get noticed by in my career. So these steps are, first and foremost, think beyond the project. Secondly, develop a business mindset. And then thirdly, have a structured curiosity SOP. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that it also provides value to you in your career. If you are willing to support me, giving a subscribe and a thumbs up would really help my channel grow. Thank you so much, and have a great day.